I'm talking about something very specific that I haven't talked probably, I don't know, in my entire coaching career. And the topic is moms in the aid sector with my amazing guest, Yossi. Hi, Yossi.
Hi, Asel. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Yossi and I decided that it's time that we talked about this uh, humanitarians who are in very particular situation and due to the funding crisis affected in ways that I guess descriptions are not enough. So that's why we thought of talking about what are the topics that moms in the aid sector are currently dealing with, and what are the ways that they're getting help, or what are the ways they're handling the situation, right? And what are the ways that we can support. So, um, USC is one of my amazing clients, and I don't know, we've been talking about coaching with USC for a long time, ever since I started my journey. So that's why I'm so happy that USC decided to start her own journey. So I will let USC introduce yourself, and then we dive into the topics that we would like to bring to this air. USC, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Asel. Indeed, we have been in touch for, I think, almost 5 years now, right? On and off. And I've been watching your journey as you kind of evolved through the different phases. And it's been one of my inspirations for, also having the courage to step into this new phase of my life. So it's really great to be here and having this conversation with you. So yeah, I'm Yossi. I'm currently in the last few months of my employment in the UN, where I've been for the last 15 years. And I have decided, as we are going through this funding crisis and this massive restructuring in the sector, that for me it is time to leave and to explore other skills, other talents, and other ways I can actually be of service. Because I think, obviously, one of the reasons why all of us stepped into this work initially is the mission and the willingness and the wish and desire to serve people. And I think that desire is still there. And so what I have come kind of to conclusion for myself as this next phase starts is that, yes, I still want to be of service, but actually now I want to be service to other women like myself, so mothers and women, of course, more generally, but particularly mothers in the aid sector who are, thinking about what they want to do next, or how they can manage all of these kind of conflicting priorities that we are facing.
Hmm. Amazing, Yossi. So I have been, I think, coaching mothers for some time now, and one of the topics that recently that came up because of the funding crisis is how the traditional, conventional way of doing things are no longer somehow working or has a lower chance of working. And I think as mothers, women are amazing in planning ahead into the future, right? Especially not only for themselves, obviously for the whole entire family. I've been coaching them on challenges of how to keep working, keep providing for the family, and at the same time thinking about the future and thinking about what will happen in the few years. And I feel like this funding crisis has accelerated that process, unfortunately, in ways that's very painful for a lot of people, right? So that's why instead of me talking more about my clients' struggles and journeys, I thought, Yossi, since you are willing and able to talk about this from your own perspective of how that journey has been, and also how you've been addressing some of them and continue addressing others.
Yeah, thank you, Asil. I think that's such an important point, because also I'm going to speak a little bit about what I also hear from other mothers, right? Because although I'm just starting my coaching journey and I also actually do conscious connected breath work, so I'm kind of combining this coaching aspect, the talking, and also the somatic piece. But So I'm going to bring in a little bit those perspectives because I feel that, as you said, this funding crisis has really accelerated the need to actually think about what would happen if this and this doesn't work anymore. And a lot of the things that I'm seeing and observing is really this feeling of a lot of people are stuck. And because we have been in this identity for so long, and it took me quite a while as well. And I'm lucky that in a way I started to think about a plan B a few years back, right? So when we started our conversations
Mm.
just by chat and when we met in different locations, I was kind of starting to reflect on what if this is no longer what will be my future? What would I do? How would I put my skills,
Mm.
my knowledge, my talents to use in other ways than serving in the UN or in a big NGO, right? And so I think that process in itself obviously takes some time. And for me, I had the luxury of, having those few years of waiting. And as you said, now that period for people to actually go into that reflection of what if I don't get that job? Or what if my job is already terminated? Who am I? Like, what am I going to do? How do I provide for my family? And it's a real existential question when it's no longer only about yourself, right? Because we have to provide for a little human and potentially several humans and a partner who also
Yeah.
not be working because they're following us to wherever we're working. So that's the reality
Yeah.
of many women who are now facing this situation. And I think the level of anxiety and desperation that I'm also seeing in many of the women in the different groups where I'm active, people I talk to, is really this feeling of complete loss and kind of not knowing what comes next. Some people have even gone back to their home country and just going on social security, right? So I think it's just such an existential crisis that we're all going through right now. And so, also from the perspective where I come in with my somatic work, I feel that, if we only kind of work on shifting our mindset or looking at how can we shift this identity in our heads, it's actually not going to be going very deep. We need to work with releasing some of that deep rooted identity that we carry in our fibers, in our bodies, right? And that's something that I really also feel could be of value to many mothers who are facing this crisis right now. For me personally, it's really funny because people tell me, you're so courageous. You're taking this step out. I have decided for myself that I'm not even going to apply for any of the jobs that are being advertised. And people are shocked when I tell them, I can't
Wow.
believe it. And I am actually at
Yeah.
peace with it. Like, it's such a good feeling when you trust
Yeah.
in your ability. Of course, I have like a gazillion fears as
Yeah.
well. Like, oh my God, what if I fail? What if no one wants to work with me?
Yeah.
What if, I'm not going to have any income, in the next few years? And then I'm like, well, what if it does work? And then
Yeah.
I will have all this freedom that I don't have at the moment, and that's kind of the processes that are coming, going through my head, and yeah, just
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for sharing your says that. I think that's so like relevant for so many moms. So the moms that I've been coaching, some of them cannot return to their home countries because of war going on in their home countries, right? Like I'm thinking of Ukraine, I'm thinking of Congo being some of the countries, and I feel like it's not only the work and career existential crisis of like identity and who am I now to be doing and changing, right? And for some of the women, it is even like the age topics of I'm at this age, is this really the time to be doing this, right? And then on top of all of this, I think I've been also coaching on how like divorce happening or child's custody situations because of stress and a lot of difficulties that couples have difficulty then bearing and going through, right? And then on top where to go, which countries and where to settle. Is it even possible to settle? Uh, and and even like the legal restrictions, right? Some of my clients, for instance, want to go and live in a third country, and then can we really live there if we don't have a job or a contract that we can rely on, right? So therefore, I just wanted to, I guess, voice also additional challenges that I think women especially are bearing. And of course, we feel a lot of responsibility by nature, right? And we want to be responsible humans for a lot of people in our family. So therefore, the purpose is really voicing all of these challenges that are coming up. So if we go to talking about, like you said about how it took some process to identify and see what is it that you would like, and also what are the things that you will no longer be doing, even though the whole world is telling us now, well, you should be applying and you should be doing this and you should be doing that, right? And I think a lot of humanitarians are frantically trying to react to things and to somehow cope with whatever is happening. What would you say to them as someone who has gone through this process and say, okay, that reactionary way of doing things might be one of the ways, but another way of doing it is, like you said, taking time and working through some of the topics. Also, like trusting your ability to, okay, what if I can do this, right? What would you say, like in terms of the timelines, how long it took for you, and how do you feel now moving forward where people's reactions are? Are you sure that's what you should be doing? How are you going through that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think I had a little bit the luxury of more time than many of the mothers and aid workers have right now because it's just such an abrupt end, right? But I think one of the phrases that I keep repeating is like when we talk about investments, for example, financial investments, right? Like I've also been asking myself, oh, is it not too late to start investing now? And then if you take that mantra from the financial investing world of like, it's never the wrong moment or it's never too late to start thinking about plan B or what's next, right? And I feel like that's exactly what applies to this current situation. So it's really about, as you said, I think the trust is the number one kind of, let's say, not quality, but the feeling that we need to tap into, right? Because we have resourced ourselves for so many years. Some people have been in this sector for 20 years, some have been for 5 years. Regardless of how long you've been working in the sector, you have shown resilience, you have shown strength, you have shown, problem solving skills, you have shown all of these capacities that we bring within us into that work. And now is the time to really trust our own ability to apply that to ourselves and to our own lives, right? It's so easy to just say everything will be fine. Like, let me avoid this topic right now. I'm just going to focus on one thing. And I don't want to minimize the overwhelm that many people are feeling, right? Because that's the other flip side of it. It's like we're overwhelmed with feeling into the anxiety, we're overwhelmed with the stress and the collective anxiety, right? It's not only an individual anxiety. The whole sector is in this collective anxiety and uncertainty. So we don't want to minimize that and we don't want to kind of bypass that. But at the same time, I think the word trust is the key here. Trusting in our own ability to find those solutions and to also take some time out of that toxicity and the overwhelm that we're feeling in our everyday work. Because if you don't step aside and actually take time to strategize, then your brain and your nervous system will be on overdrive constantly, right? And you're not actually going to find solutions from a place of trust and calm. And so that's one of the things that I've been trying to do for myself. Really like trying to not like calm in terms of I have to sit and meditate, but calming my own nervous system in terms of how I'm able to do things. So showing myself like, okay, I've set up a company now. I've set up a bank account for this new venture that I'm creating. I've set up my Instagram account. Like just small, tiny steps to like move out of the freeze state that we can easily come into when we become too overwhelmed with anxiety and fear, and stepping into like the small steps that we can take to explore what could be possible, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the invitation I feel for many women and aid workers right now, is really stepping into that sphere of, let me try this. What if it could work? Or like showing yourself that you're able to do something that is not related to the current job, right? And
Mhm.
so conversations, having brainstorming, like I've had numerous, brainstorming sessions. And I mean, I'm part of your coaching program. So, I mean, that also helps to, trigger some reflections, doing the somatic work, the breath work, because sometimes also when we are in this kind of state of fear, our brain just kind of shuts down and we're not
Yeah.
actually able to tap into the wisdom that we have. And so that's where I feel, for me at least, what over the past years also has given me that strength and the trust in myself, is to just allow the brain to step back and listen to my body. And like when I
Mhm.
do the breath work, the insights that you have while you're in that breathwork session can be so powerful that they can allow you to transcend the, overwhelm and this feeling of not being able to find a solution.
Yeah, I love it. I think what I'm hearing also is that the more we feel that trust, whether it's in ourselves, whether it's in the things that we want to do, we also can balance the fear in a way that otherwise fear gets so acting out. And like you said, it just makes us feel stuck and not moving forward, right? And therefore we become so reactionary to everything that's going on. And of course, the news currently and our environment does not help, right? So that's why some of the ways that I've helped women then to look at it, okay, how do I want to react to the things that are going on in my life, right? Versus how I keep reacting currently just out of default, out of fear. And if I really stop myself and look at, okay, let me process and release all the emotions, and then how do I want to interact with my environment? How do I want to go through this application process if that's what I want to do? If that's not what I want to do, then how do I want to think about my future, right? Is this really something I would like to do long term, or I'm just doing it because I feel I have no other option but to do it and then keep like the status quo, right? So therefore, like taking time to reflect on, is this how you would like to go through this process or not, and recognizing that power to say you have a way to influence your life and decisions and your environment in ways you can and you want to. And I think that's a powerful place for all of us to create that community or groups or support spaces where we know that we're not alone in doing this, obviously, right? We all have this like fears, I don't know, screaming
Yeah.
at us. And then once we know that we can validate with others who are also doing this, then we're like, okay, it seems like I'm human, others human, we're going through
Yeah.
this. And then also recognizing that, okay, what if we have the power to change the course of how things are going moving forward versus just following everyone else and keep doing things that maybe we don't want to be doing, right? And therefore, I think you'll see your journey of showcasing how you've decided this is now time to trust more than ever before,
Yeah.
in having all the evidence, right, to show to yourself that you can do this, and starting this journey of your own. And I want to now give this space to Yossi to talk about amazing space she's creating. Yossi, tell us all about the retreat.
Yes. Lamu is calling you. So yeah, thank you, Asil. I think, as I said, and as we've been talking about this amazing kind of reflection together, is taking the time, the space, and trusting that whatever is meant to come for you will show up for you, right? And I think that's where I wanted to create this retreat, because for me personally, retreats have always been this amazing container where you can step out of your everyday kind of hectic life and just take time for you and whatever you want to work on. So what I have realized is that a lot of women are going through this stress, and they are, struggling to find the time, especially mothers, to set aside some time to reflect on the future. And that is why I'm inviting anyone who's interested to come to Lamu in Kenya, which is a beautiful island in the Indian Ocean, and where we will have 4 days to work with the breath, with the voice, and with life coaching kind of circles, going for, sunset boat trips and having amazing food and yoga in the morning, to take that little time out, to take that, pause from whatever else we're doing, to really think about, okay, what if I trust myself? What if I trust that I can do other things? And what would that look like? So it's really an inquiry into our own power, our own talents, our own abilities, and allowing ourselves that space and that time. And it's just a 4-day long weekend in November. So from the 13th of 16th to November in Lamu, and you can find all the information, below this call in the notes. I think, Asil, you have shared it. But yeah, so we spend these 3 days in community, and I think that is another thing that you mentioned that really also has been such an important piece for me in this whole project that I'm building with Sacred Resilience Embodied, is that community piece. We don't have to do everything alone, right? We're here to support each other. We're here to hold each other. And I think those women who will come to Lamu will be in that circle of other women in the aid sector who are going through similar things. So it's not going to be a complaining circle of women, but it's going to be an empowering group of women, a group of women who really want to look into what can I do for myself and my family going forward, and what steps do I need to take to get there?
Amazing. I love it. So everyone who wants to go and spend this time with Yossi in the island and really taking the time to make some decisions, right? Some reflections. I think that's really something that if we can allow ourselves one luxury, I would say that's it. Because I have also seen in my own life that the more I reflect on how I want to spend the rest of my life until 70, the more interesting my life gets, right? And the more I keep reacting to things around me, the more stressed and I don't know, it doesn't feel like me or my life. So that's why I really want to encourage everyone to take this time to do this, and doing it outside in a different setting can also give you a lot of different perspectives. I always tell people when I did one of these type of retreats, I felt like my depression went away. And, it's just one of those transformative journeys that we can take, right? So that's why it's amazing that you are doing this work. I know that we wanted to talk more about USC's journey of why she chose coaching and how this became her new passion. I think we'll dedicate maybe more time to doing this another time. For now, we wanted to really voice some of the struggles that are going on that I think we're not really maybe giving as much space to be talking about it. So my intention is to talk more about different people's journeys throughout this transitioning, right? And how they're handling it and how they would like to handle it. And especially if we are expecting another wave of funding crisis next year that many people talk about, then how do we get ready for that as well? I think therefore this conversations need to happen more often. So that's why Thank you, Yossi, for being here with me and discussing this together.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Asel. And I really hope to continue this conversation because I think there's so much more to, share and
Yeah.
to bring out to the world. But it's really exciting to start. And although it comes with many fears, it's also really, exciting. And there's so many things that I still want to achieve. And so, yeah, let's continue.
Amazing. So one thing that if Yossi can exemplify in this journey, I think is our humans' ability to manage fears in a way that we continue pursuing what we want, right? And that's really the goal of coaching, I feel, is how can we take into account all of our emotions, all of our fears, and still continue what we would like to. And that's really what we want to advocate for. So, Yossi, thank you for doing this with your example. And I really trust that so many other people will be following that. So that's why go to the retreat, have an amazing time with Yossi. And in the meantime, have a beautiful week. And thank you. See you
Yeah,
next
thank you,
time.
Asel. I look forward to hearing from those interested in the retreat. Bye.
Exactly.